George Orwell wrote a furious tirade against political correctness that turned out to be a work of genius and one of the best things that you can study to become a better communicator overall. You see, George's attempt to point out why political correctness is a bad use of language forces him to try explain what a good use of language should look like. And this makes him boil down to the first principles of communication. The basic thing that he says is that the primary and purest function of language is to try paint a picture in the other person's imagination. When you are communicating, your goal is to try use mouth noises or scribbles on a page or a screen to spark the other person's imagination and show them something using your words, imprint your dreams inside their heads. This is what all great poets are trying to do. They're struggling to use words to evoke an emotion or a scene or an idea inside of the other person's mind. They're trying to change the mental state and show somebody something clear. The great teacher, a great sales guy are all trying to do these things. They're all trying to move the other person's imagination so the other person sees something that they did not see before. Now, the reason why this is so fundamental is because this is about your intention of using language. If your goal is to spark somebody else's imagination, the words you use are going to be fit to purpose. You're going to try use very clear and down-to-earth language. You're going to try to use descriptions that are very easy for people to understand because your goal is clarity, not obscurity. Now, what you'll notice in people who are pretentious, people who use political correctness, is their goal, their intention is not to paint a picture inside your imagination. They want to hammer fancy words at you that make them sound smart and make you think that they must be intelligent, cultured, and moral and good. They are trying to virtue signal, as we say it. They don't want to communicate any actual meaning because either they're not smart enough to communicate actual meaning or they don't want you to understand their real intentions. They might be saying beautiful words to lie to you. So for that reason, they use lots of big words. They use lots of complicated, pretentious phrasing. They obscure their actual communication with vagueness instead of clarity. Now, to illustrate this point, George Orwell gives you two examples in his essay. He uses a verse from the Bible, which is very clear and down to earth, because its intention is to try communicate. That's what the Bible wants to do. It wants to take your mind and fill it full of dreams. Whereas he compares this with a modern English version of this. Now, he makes this up, but this is going to sound very familiar when you hear it. The Bible passage goes like this. It's from Ecclesiastes, and it says, I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches to men of understanding, nor yet favor to men of skill, but time and chance happens to them all. Now compare this to a modern English version. Same meaning, but different construction. Objective considerations of contemporary phenomenon compel the conclusion that success or failure in competitive activities exhibits no tendency to be consummate with innate capacity, but that a considerable element of the unpredictable must invariably be taken into account. Interesting. Now, what is the main contrast between these two? The second one does not use imagery. It does not use clear tactile nouns that you can visualize. Ecclesiastes has the sun, race, swift, battle, strong, bread, wise, riches, men of understanding, men of skill. These are all very clear things that you could sit down and imagine inside of your head. Instead, modern English uses all this complicated wording to avoid painting a picture. And of course, for this reason, the Ecclesiastes one is much easier to say, read, and understand because the language is always simpler syllables. One syllable, two syllables, smaller words, which doesn't mean it's stupider, it means it's clearer. Whereas the bigger words, objective considerations, contemporary phenomenon, these turn this into a big word mouthful that makes you sound sophisticated in a way, but is actually a cover-up for the fact that you're saying nothing. There is much more fantastic knowledge to mine out of this essay, but I'll leave it at that because that is the most powerful idea. The goal of language should be to spark the imagination of those who you are speaking to. But politically correct people, pretentious people, big word lovers, they don't have anything to say, so they vaguely cover it up with junk. If you want to penetrate and move people's minds, because this is a great power, this is how you write great books, this is how you draw attention and build real audiences, this is how you become a better sales guy, a better public speaker, a better communicator. This is the skill you need. You need to avoid politically correct speech, big wordism, and pretentiousness like the plague.